and welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show, the number one place to discover the people, ideas, and strategies that are helping business owners solve real problems in the real world. I'm your host, ProsperTaruvinga. And if you've ever looked at your numbers and thought, oh, I should understand this, but I don't, or if BAS, payroll, and compliance just feel like a foreign language, and I think today's conversation is going to feel like somebody finally switched the lights on. Because today we have the pleasure of welcoming Pooja from Cresthill Bookkeeping. Now, Pooja, welcome to the show.
Hi, Prosper. Thank you.
Fantastic. I'm really excited about this. You see, every time I'm looking at my BAS statement and my emails from my accountant and bookkeeper, I'm always like, I think that's something for me to take care of tomorrow. And I think after this conversation today, we get to iron out a few creases and also get to know you and what it is that you're doing at Cresthill there. Now, for those that are meeting Pooja for the very first time, Pooja helps businesses take control of their finances, stay compliant, and more importantly, she helps people make confident decisions based on real numbers and not a guesswork. So this show is the number one place to find exclusive insights into how experts like Pooja solve real world business challenges. So wherever you're watching or listening right now, make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss the next episode. Pooja, before we get started, welcome once again to the show. I've actually heard two things about you that made me instantly smile. First of all, you love shoes.
Oh, that's my passion.
Is it? What is it about shoes?
Oh, I don't know. That's my passion. I think, you could be wearing an outfit worth $1,000, and when someone looks at you from top to bottom and looks at your feet, and the shoes don't match with the outfit, the whole outfit kind of goes out of picture. So I think it's I would say it's hereditary. My mom loves shoes. My sister loves shoes. I think I can say I've got over 120 pairs of shoes.
Wow.
And it's my dream to have a closet with different styles of shoes paired up with my outfits. I need from flats to heels to boots to wedges, you name it. So you want to make me happy, you take me shoe shopping, and I'm as happy as it can get.
Absolutely.
I love shoes.
Thank you so much for sharing that tidbit of information. But you chose bookkeeping, all right? And so does that mean all your shoes are in some sort of a spreadsheet and you know which one has to go when and how much wear each shoe has gotten?
Actually, no, they're all up here because you'll be surprised. I've got a pair of shoe since the last 26 years. I wore that for my sister's wedding 26 years ago, and I've kept it and I wear it once in a while. And my kids ask me, can I wear them? And I said no. So I think shoes are one thing that don't need to go on the spreadsheet manually. They're all up here in the spreadsheet. I know exactly what I've got and I know the state it is in. So if someone tries to wear my shoes and wrecks it, is in trouble.
I can imagine. But as I understand bookkeeping, it's about numbers and making sure everything is in place. So that means you can't go impulsive shopping, right? Because everything has to go according to a budget.
No. Look, there is a thin line, I would say. You can still be impulsive in the budget you have. So impulsive shopping would not necessarily mean that you have to just spend $1,000 when you don't have the $1,000. Impulsive shopping for me could be, I know I've got $500 and I'm going out and I'm buying something I may or may not need, but I've got the means to buy it. So that is something that I think you can still work in your control, which is you can still be an impulsive shopper, but in the budget that you have.
I like that there's a lesson in that
Yeah.
alone, because so many people just think, oh, want, get, and
Yeah.
eventually it derails their budgets and their expenditure within their business as well.
Yes.
So, Pooja, I've got to ask you this: Do spreadsheets ever compete with shoes for your attention, or is there a strict budget line item that you have called professional footwear research?
Actually, no. I don't do that because I'm not in that line of work that I can put shoes in my spreadsheet and put them as protective clothing or shoes. So,
Mm,
um, but it is very important for a business owner of any scale or grade to know what they're spending their money on, what their expenses are, and whether their expenses are valid in relation to their business. So, for
absolutely.
example, if I was to put $450 through my business card and put them and reconcile that as a work expense, well, that's not going to go right because it is not right. It is not a work expense. Whereas if a construction worker who's up at the construction site goes and buys protective shoes worth $450, that is a work expense because he's keeping himself safe while working at the construction site. So yeah, so it's all about what is purchased in a scope of what business you run. So yeah.
Absolutely. See, now we're getting into the meat of the conversation, right? So, on a more serious note, what I really find fascinating about your journey, Pooja, is you didn't start in bookkeeping alone. You've worked in account
No.
management, in sales, customer service, marketing, and advertising. And
Yeah.
that means you've actually seen business from every different angle
Yeah.
before you've helped them with their finances. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you actually got started.
See, my journey is like any normal Indian girl back in India, uh, finishing up her graduation, getting a first job in the advertising agency as a account manager. Very fascinating. Full of um, how do you put it, full of meeting people, getting to know new businesses, their requirements, and getting to understand how and how much does a business want to spend to get a sale of an X%. So now that I think from that perspective, that time I was merely 23 years old when I got my first job in advertising. It was fascinating to go through and go see a client and get a brief of what he or she wanted and how they wanted to advertise their product. And then coming back and speaking to the creative directors and putting it down from one head to the other head. And then going back and selling the finished product to the client to say, oh, okay, this is going to work. Now, or as all we know in advertising works and does not work.
Mm,
It's always a hit and miss. So it just depends. So that's where I started my career back in India when I was 23. Um, I moved from there and I started working for hospitality, just a bit of a change, um, and into sales and marketing because I thought that's my field, basically sales and marketing. I studied in that. Um, then, as life had different plans for me, I met my husband. He was here in Australia for a project. One fine day, he comes and says, "Oh, we don't have too much time. We need to get married in a rush," and we ship off to Melbourne. And I was merely 25 years of age. I didn't know anything. I hadn't traveled outside India forever. That was my first international trip. Scared out of my guts. Came to Australia in 2002. Just struggles of finding a job because market that time was very different. Now, right now, we have a lot of social media presence in, getting references for your work. Back 25 years ago, the employer had to write an email to your employer back in India and wait for them to give you a reference check. So you can imagine that never happened. So I started my career as a casual worker with the Indian consulate. I worked there for about, I think, about 6-8 months, from where I got a reference and I started working in the superannuation industry. Now, that was very fascinating for me. Also, it was a lot of learning because we have something similar in India called a provident fund, which is not forced upon employers or employees, whereas here in Australia, superannuation is a big part of someone's savings for when they retire. So I started working in superannuation. I started off at the low level as an admin person. Then I moved my way up to insurance in superannuation. And when I left superannuation in 2007, I was managing the insurance team up in superannuation. Life changed again. I had kids, which means no help. I had to find something to do because I can't sit idle. It's like, for me, empty mind is a devil's workshop. It's that saying is actually for me. So I started studying. I studied migration law, thinking maybe I could get into that. I did a postgrad diploma in migration law, but migration was changing rapidly. Australia was changing what they wanted, how they wanted. They had cut the lists. That was a no-go. So then I brainstormed a little bit with my husband, thought, oh, okay, online shopping is everyone's favorite. So how about we get into that stream? But rather than doing the daily run-of-the-mill stuff, we do exclusive products and get electronics into the country. So we were the first ones to introduce Ring video doorbells as an online small seller in Australia. It was a product coming to us from New Zealand, was a distributor. We had a good run with that, and a couple of other electronic products. Then, of course, small fish in a big pond came Amazon. And that's where bookkeeping was introduced to me, because when I started doing my own business, I started understanding numbers. I started understanding, cost into the business in forms of products, in forms of, shipping them out and other costs associated with the business. And not necessarily if you sell for 100,000, the 100,000 is yours. So that's when I thought this is something that I can do, which is going to be lifelong for me. So I studied bookkeeping, Cert 4, got my certification, got my BAS Agent registration certificate with 1,000+ hours. And then there was no looking back. Hence, the numbers came in play. And I think whatever happens for a reason. I understand businesses with a lot more different perspective, because I've been through that journey of having a business and not realizing as to what happens. So so that's where the journey goes. So yeah, that's a bit about me in a nutshell.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for taking us through that journey, because it really opens us up to who you are and why you do what you do, because your journey and your story really gives us and also gives you a very different perspective, like you say, than most bookkeepers have, because as you are saying, numbers don't just exist in a vacuum. There is a story behind them. There's people, there's decisions, and there's whatever pressure that is mounting on the business owner to perform and things of that nature. Plus, you've worked in 2 different continents and you've got all this 2 different perspectives. But let's go back a little bit, because there's a statement that you mentioned, and you said you were a typical Indian girl. Was there an expectation for you to either do well or amount to something in your life, as with other sort of Asian parents?
See, yes, Indian parents usually have a certain set expectations for their children, which is you're going to be a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. But while we were growing up, my dad always had just one expectation from us that, look, I know you will do well. I know you will fend for yourself and you will always go one step above and provide for yourself to what I have provided for you, as long as you're good humans. So that was the expectation my parents laid on me and my sister while we were growing up, is, you can mint money, you can be millionaires, but if you're not good humans, trust me, that's going to get you nowhere. So my parents were very different from typical Indian parents, because depending on the part of India you're from, typical Indian parents are, you do your schooling, you do your university. If you're not doing any work, all right, let's find you a good boy, a good match, and off you go, you get married. So we didn't have any of those issues at my house when we were growing up. My dad was a totally different man, coming from a family of 3 brothers and a sister, and my mom coming from a huge family of 10 siblings. We got the freedom to think for ourselves, to make mistakes, learn from them, with the backing of our parents standing right by the side to say, oh, it's okay, you've done something wrong, no problem. So that's where I come from.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that tidbit, right? Because then it also gives us the opportunity to see that you went on and experimented and you've never really stopped, because you were given that platform to be
Yes.
who you want to be, and it wasn't throttled to, you have to be a specific
Yes.
type person, because a lot of people that are given that throttle will never expand to be anyone. Like, you've become different careers and you expanding your your qualifications moving forward, which is an amazing thing. Now, 25, you stepped into Australia. What was your first feel of what Australia was? Was it as you had anticipated, or was it a whole different world? Because I've got a story.
It was amazing. To be very honest, I've lived in Australia for 25 years and I've loved every bit of it. It was a different phase of my life where I had just got married, and, just setting up a new life with your husband in a different country. There were challenges, emotional challenges, to a point that I had no family here. My husband had no family here. Just to make friends, or come about to, where your community is, where you belong. But all in all, it was an amazing experience, and I don't think I would have done it any other way.
Absolutely.
So it was good. I didn't have, of course, you miss family, you miss parents, you miss everything going back home. The means are shorter than what you would want to do when you want to go home. But we made it work, and it was an amazing journey. It was just an amazing journey.
Absolutely. But obviously you weren't that far away from, what you would consider home, because you got involved with the Indian consulate, which was somewhat a close-knit reference to the sort of life and lifestyle that you went on and chose. Okay. Now, when you ventured into online shopping, obviously that is run about the time when it was mainly not necessarily the .com era, but online e-commerce was sort of relatively new, and it was sort of not very common as it is today. What was a typical trading day like, for you guys? Were you making millions of dollars in sales, or was it one ring alarm at a time?
So we started off. We were very conservative when we started our online retail shop. We started off with $50,000 worth of an investment, where we said, okay, we are going to get 3 products into the country. We are going to start to sell them whatever profit we make, we're going to keep it aside and then invest a little more. So we were very conscious because we didn't have the funding from our parents back home, or there was not, money flowing. So it was our hard-earned, saved money. And we had young kids. So we thought, okay, rather than just jumping in with a whole lot, that's what we did. So we started off small, where we had the stock at our house. We would get orders via the website, and I would then pack it. I would print every order off from Squarespace, get the order, 2 copies, pack it, go into the couriers, please. Actually, it was called Sendle that time. Go through the Sendle website and put all the specifications and book the orders to be sent to the people the next day or the following day. And there was a point in time I had 30 parcels sitting in front of my house for someone to come and collect. So that's how we started. So very, like I said, we were very small, and we were very old school and traditional, saying we don't want to put in everything in it, otherwise you don't know what's going to happen. So that's how we started. And then as we grew, we then got a warehouse. And then we started doing drop shipping and things like that. But then when we saw that it was time to get out of the market because we could see the sales getting affected, we just did a U-turn, very smooth transition out, and that was perfect. But the stock we had, we sold, and it was perfect. So we had nothing left that we say, oh my God, I have stock with $30,000 left and I don't know what to do with it. There was nothing left. So whatever we got, we sold. It was break even and we were happy with it.
Absolutely. And I'm supposing right about that time, Amazon actually bought that ring
Yes, that's
franchise
true.
and
Yes.
product and things like that. But what is something that most people don't see about the pressure that business owners feel around finances, which obviously now that you've been on the other side and you're now on the
Yeah.
other side, you sort of get to help alleviate for people?
See, I think it's very easy for someone who's been working in an office for throughout their life and then turn around and say, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to open a business. That's all everything is my money there. I don't have to worry about anything. I'm working from home. I've got a set of clients, and it's a clean road ahead. Well, it's not. Business owners, when you get into business, and especially a small business owners need to understand whatever money that's coming into their check account is not all theirs.
Really?
That's the first thing. That is the first thing. So if you're invoicing, for example, you're invoicing me $220 inclusive GST, then the whole lot is not yours. The 10% GST is the government's, which the government is asking you to give it back to them every month, every quarter, or every year based on how you're registered for GST. The government also says that if you're earning less than $75,000 a year in your business, you don't need to register yourself for GST, which is okay. If you're doing contracting here and there, one off, and it's a part time thing, you're working somewhere else, your annual income in your business is under 75,000. You can't claim GST. You can't, no, you can't claim it, you can't give it. It's both ways. But once you reach that 75,000 threshold, and I often tell clients who start their business and they got brilliant ideas and the business is going to go over 2 folds or 3 folds, is that assess your business in 6 months' time, register for GST. Because once you go a dollar over 75,000, you don't know, because you're busy getting more clients, invoicing more, doing your bit, what you do best, and you don't know when you go over the 75,000 threshold. So GST is one component which is not yours in the money that you get, in an invoice that you get. Then the second component that's not yours is when you give yourself a wage or you hire someone. The payroll PAYG withholding, the payroll withholding, the tax is not yours. You've given yourself a wage of $1,500 net, but it's actually not 1,500 net. There's a calculation behind it. There's a gross amount, and that tax is not yours, which is again the government's tax. Then the third component is you need to pay yourself superannuation, which is the 12%. And that's not yours as well. So when they say, oh, I've got $100,000 turnover in a quarter, I'm laughing. No, out of the $100,000, there is 10% GST. Then you might have given yourself a wage. Then there's a PAYG withholding there. Then there's a 12% super. So that's what you have to give back to the government as your liability. Then you are running expenses. You're using your car, you're using petrol, you're going out and renting out an office, you need money for advertising, you need money for marketing, you need a bookkeeper, you need an accountant, the various expenses. So by the end of the day, when you actually see and compare the profit and loss, your gross income is 150, but when you come down, the net could be minus 5,000. And then you think, why? I only took $1,000 a month for this and I didn't get any money. Why is the net minus 5,000? What's happening? Oh, I need more clients. And then you go out and get more clients. But that picture doesn't change because you don't understand that you have to factor in the expenses as well. When you're working for someone, you're going into work, you're going there, you're putting your 9 to 5 hours, they're paying your taxes, they're paying your super. You're not worried about office rent or electricity or internet or nothing. The company is doing everything. So you're not accounting for all those expenses that you need to run a business. So it's just not as simple as, oh, I'm going out on my own now, I'm going to do my own business. And that's it. It's a good idea, but there needs to be a bit of research going behind it. You need to have a strategy in place. You need to have your findings documented to say, okay, I'm going to start with this much. This is an X amount that I'm going to spend on marketing. This is what I need for my expenses. This is what it's going to be. And then you check yourself maybe every 6 months or every year. Then you start getting work and you keep yourself in check to know how your business is progressing. Because what's coming in is not actually all yours. I go back to that. With all my clients, I go back to that.
Absolutely. You see, when you're working on your own, you start thinking whatever money that drops into your, then we can go and buy shoes with Pooja, or
yes.
Things like
that's
that.
Absolutely right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. But some people would still venture to think that maybe bookkeeping is maybe just data entry or something that the accountant sorts out later. What is this belief very dangerous for a business?
See, a couple of years ago, bookkeeping was actually just admin work. I would say almost 10 to 15 years ago, anyone could go in and do bookkeeping. But now, in the last 10 years or more, the ATO is streamlining the industry because we are being trained and we are being told to do regular CPD hours and regular, things that are coming in from the ATO to keep us on top of it, to understand that what is GST and what is GST free, which is very important. A small example I would say in that is for a restaurant that's running a business, they go out and buy groceries for the business to cook. Now, raw food is GST free. Water is GST free. But if you go out and buy cooked food, that's got GST in it. So not everyone knows the distinctions between GST and GST free. If you're an admin person, you're just going to just allocate it to say, okay, cost of goods sold, GST, GST, GST. But no, not everything is GST. So they are making the industry more streamlined. They are hence now saying if you are a BAS agent, which I am, then you are doing everything by the book, ATO is checking, everything is done. But if you're an admin person, then you technically can't do anything because you're not registered, you don't know the implications of GST, so you can't do anything. So that and yes, accountants. So I work well with accountants. Accountants used to do bookkeeping. They still do bookkeeping. They don't prefer necessarily to do bookkeeping because, like I said, we work hand in hand. We clear up the books. We give accountants clear, reconciled chart of accounts, whether it's the bank, whether it's payroll, whether it's super. The accountant is then taking out the time to financially plan your year ahead, to plan your, if you need to go buy a new vehicle for the company or you need to do something else. So the accountant then is doing more of your financial planning at the end of the year than doing what we do, which is your books.
And I think because of what you say, because back in the time it just used to be yet another admin job
Yes.
where
Yes.
people would file things and
Yes.
introduce things that takes time. Is that the reason why it's creating a misunderstanding, especially when it comes to people understanding why they would need to have a bookkeeper separately within their business, or is that why this misunderstanding exists?
I think there's also because now ATO is streamlining a lot of things, with softwares coming up in the picture, new rules and regulations coming in every 6 months, whether it's super related, whether it's GST related, whatever it is. It's no longer, and ATO is getting more smarter and smarter. So there's no longer room for error because ATO is saying we've got people out there who are licensed, who are educated to do what they're supposed to do, and they know what they're doing. So there is no excuse for you to turn around and say, oh, I don't have this person doing my books, for example. A biggest change that's coming in, which a lot of employers are going to struggle with, is that 1 July 2026, there's something called as payday super, which is coming in the picture. So, which is the day you pay your wages to your staff is the same day you pay your super. Now, there are nitty-gritties behind that, which means if you're paying your staff if you've got staff for $10,000 net that you're putting into their wages, then whatever the super 12% super works out to be, you have to pay that the same day. Now, the employers, the question is going to come with the employers for cash flow.
Right.
So that is another thing where we bookkeepers come in the picture, is to work on your cash flow. So to show you that you may be getting in 50,000 and your supplies to run your business are worth 45, how are you going to manage so that your cash flow stays and you're still on top of your business? So cash flow is another thing where we come in the picture. We also come in the picture to show you, what it means to show if you spend $5,000 on advertising. Have you looked through the quarter and seen that you spend $5,500? How many more leads have you got into? So we make you think about your business. We are your sounding board. So we will come across and say, okay, Prosper, you've paid $5,500 for your business in advertising for a quarter, but your sales hasn't really gone up by the percentage that it should have gone up. Is there anything you think you can change, or do you think you want to tweak your advertising or something? Because you could be paying $5,500 every quarter. By the end of the year, you'll be down what, 20, 25, $30,000 in advertising, but the sales haven't really gone up.
Absolutely.
So we are just a sounding board for businesses to keep them in the loop for everything that's coming in by the ATO, and everything that their liabilities and responsibilities are towards the ATO, that they're fulfilled, so they don't come in the eyes of the ATO for no reason.
Absolutely. And that is very crucial, especially when it comes
Yes.
to small to medium businesses. Now, for those that are watching
Yes.
right now, I'm curious, how many of you only look at your numbers at tax time, or when you start hearing the ads, it's end of financial year? I want you to drop tax time in the comments so that maybe Pooja can reach out to you and help you with your numbers before the taxman comes with their big hands. Now, obviously, what you are about to talk about, Pooja, is how being proactive as a bookkeeper is,
Yes.
is what you're doing, and it actually helps the business owner to be ahead. You're talking about
Yeah.
cash flow, making them think. There's people like me that could just run an ad and not quite correlate whether the ad is actually representing
Yeah.
received revenue and things of that nature. And some business people
Yeah.
just like it because there's some sort of traction and action going on for themselves there. And you also mentioned a nice tidbit that in the coming months or so, there's going to be changes in the legislation where when you pay your super, also the super also has to come out
Yeah.
immediately. Now, maybe you can maybe let us know what does what else do you as a bookkeeper do to be proactive in the life of a business owner?
See, I work with business owners during the month, uh, week, and quarter, which could be, if I'm looking at their accounts receivables or accounts payables. Accounts receivables, for people who are listening, is invoices that you send out to your customers for them to pay you. Now, it's very easy and it is human nature for people to forget when the invoice hits the other person's email inbox. It could go into spam, it could go into junk, or you could just completely genuinely forget about paying the invoice. So that's another thing where I come in the picture, is that I'm a little proactive. When I go into your file, into your software file, I'll see, okay, at the end of the month, let's run a report to see how many invoices are unpaid, how many are unpaid for, let's say, 15 days over or 30 days over, or even older than that. Send a statement out. Or maybe they're like 90 days old. Maybe pick up the phone and give them a call saying, oh, have you forgotten about us? We worked for you 90 days ago and there's still some amount missing that you need to pay us. So
Mm,
that's another headache that I take off the business owners. Then it's about accounts payables, which means you may have a supplier that you're buying regular stuff from, to paying their bills. Rather than you doing your work all day long, then you come back and sit on the computer and you pay bills. That's taking out of your precious time from your family, your friends, your time away for more work, which is not paying you. So that's
mm,
something we take over as well. So yeah, basically, like I said, we come across as sounding boards. I particularly, when I work with my clients, I treat their business like my own business because I'm a small business owner, and I understand the pain of not getting paid on time, or your your receivables list growing with $5,000 or $6,000 worth of money still awaiting to come into your bank account. And you think, come on, the work is done. And you as a business owner might think, should I call up and say you haven't paid? So, no, I do that. Then I deal with the tax office on your behalf. So if there's something, that's missing, or there's something that's happened in your life which is a little hard for you to cope with, and you can't do the liabilities or pay the liabilities on time, that's where we come in and we talk to the ATO on your behalf. We work very closely with you. So I work very closely with my business owners to make them feel that I feel what you're feeling, because I'm a small business owner. So
mm.
the suggestions I'm giving you is something that I'm following up for myself as well.
Absolutely.
So that's where I come in the picture for small business owners, because I relate to them at their level, at their work level, as to where they stand.
Absolutely. You see, a lot of accounting work now happens, on the computer, and
Yeah.
I'm just looking
On the
outside.
cloud.
Yeah, it's a
It's
little
sunny
bit.
outside, yes.
It's very sunny and there are no clouds. I wonder where my data is right now. So,
It's
you know.
traveling.
But what's the real cost of not understanding your numbers?
The real cost of not understanding your numbers is that you are basically getting your business down. If you don't know the numbers in your business, then you are working aimlessly towards something because you're not getting anything. And I don't think anyone likes to work for free.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. So if you're putting in 10 hours a day or 15 hours a day as a new small business owner who usually puts in that time, then at the end of the month or end of the quarter, you need some sort of a reward out of your business. Because if not, you'll work in your business for a year without a reward, and then you will burn out and you will think, oh my God, I've done so much of work, but I haven't got even a single cent of my business. What is happening?
Mm.
So it is very important to know your numbers. It is very important to know your sales to your expenses, to know where are you spending the money that probably isn't required, can probably wait for another 3 months. So you get your numbers up.
You see,
So yeah.
just listening to you. I mean, obviously, I listen to you most of the time when you're talking and explaining what it is that you're doing, but just listening to your story, your life story, and your experience have got so much value to what you now bring to the table. Because what stands out for me is this: a lot of business owners don't fail because of lack of passion, they just struggle because of lack of clarity.
Yes.
Now, the clarity that you have gathered from insurance, migration, and all the places that you have studied and the businesses that you have run before actually makes it easy for you to see a 360 view of the whole business, whereas the person that's working just knows the part that they're working on right now. And I think clarity often leaves in the numbers, because if you know where you're headed, then you know how much you
Exactly.
can actually expand. And I think that's why conversations like this actually matter. And I really appreciate.
So that's true. And I think it is very important for a business owner to know their business numbers, even if they have a bookkeeper. So I often encourage my clients to go through their numbers, to know what they're invoicing, to know what they're paying, whether it's in forms of reports or whether it's in the form of once a quarter catch up to say, okay, this is what your profit and loss looks like. I think you need to know what's happening, because the more they know about the business numbers, the more they are aware how much work they need to put in. Whether having 5 new clients in a month is what they need to up their numbers, or whether they've reached where they wanted to reach their 5-year plan and maybe having one client per month to sustain and to keep the business growing in a slow pace. You need to know your numbers. So
Absolutely.
it's a very simple statement there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Pooja, obviously, for people that are watching right now, they're sitting at the edge of their seat. They want to know, where do I sign up and how do I get started? Where can people go to on the internet to find more about the work that you're doing and how they can maybe inquire to start working with
See,
you?
I have a website which is www.cresthill.com.au. You can message me on my mobile number, which is also given on my website, which is 0432425603, or send me an email, which is pooja@cresthill.com.au. Any one of the mediums. Of course, LinkedIn and through Prosper's show, you can anytime get in touch with me. I'll be more than happy to look at your books and give you a free 30-minute health check to see where you're headed at, or whether you do need a bookkeeper or you can manage it yourself.
Absolutely. Now, Pooja, when we started this conversation, you introduced us to a character who I think has been very pivotal to your life and to who you've become. And that character was Dad. Now,
Yes.
if Dad would see the person who you've become based on how he raised you, like you told us, what would he say about the person you've become today?
I mean, I think he'll be very proud of me. I think he'll be sitting up there and being really proud of me that I have become someone that he raised to be, and yeah, over and beyond that. So I think he'll be proud sitting wherever he's sitting here
Thank you.
today.
Fantastic. And obviously, now that you've brought us into your world, I mean, you've shown us that, things can change at a click of a finger, maybe by this
Yes.
time next year. What's exciting that you're working on that we can also jump on board that we can anticipate in the future?
Good question. At this point in time, I'm just working on growing myself to the next step in my life, which is from a single employee, business owner, moving to a team, which means it gives me more capacity to deal with clients on daily basis and face to face, whereas I have a team looking at the numbers and coming back to me at the end. So that is something to look forward to. I'm looking at growing myself as a team. So I hope that can happen soon. So yeah.
Absolutely. No, Pooja, I can't thank you enough for the time and the story that you shared with us today. I mean, your life story and your experience definitely is showing up in people's books and helping them become profitable and also enjoy the work that they're doing. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Prosper. Thank you for having me. It was lovely.
Absolutely. I also just realized that bookkeeping isn't just about numbers. I mean, from what you're telling us, it's about confidence, it's about peace of mind, and also better
Yes,
decisions. And I think
of
that's something
course.
every business owner wants. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. And for those that are watching, thank you too for watching up until this part. If this conversation really helped you see your business in a new way, I encourage you to share this with somebody who also needs to hear a message like this. I mean, there's always someone in your circle who is quietly struggling with their numbers, with their confidence, or with their peace of mind. And there's people like Pooja that are more than happy to be helping out. And if somebody has brought you to this particular episode, give them a hug, because obviously information like this doesn't just come by. And if you haven't subscribed to the show, please do so, because in our next episode, we're going to be talking about ideas that can help you create a happier and more fulfilling existence, not just in business, but also in life. And I definitely don't want you to miss out on that. So make sure you are subscribed. So I can't wait to see what you're going to do with this information. Make sure you reach out to Pooja at Cresthill Bookkeeping and actually start building your financial clarity today, because profitable businesses are not built on hope. They're built on visibility. Until next time, bye for now.